You're listening to the 3 Feet Radio Show with Ben Carbonaro and Luke Herbert. From our studios come special guests and netball commentary, exclusively on YouTube.
G'day everyone and welcome again to the 3 Feet Radio Show. It's not long now to the ANZ Championship Finals Series and we thought it would be a good opportunity to talk about a few different issues in the ANZ Championship today, Luke.
Oh yes, and I've been looking forward to this interview because, it's quite exciting and I'm very curious about what direction the ANZ Championship is going to take in a couple of years' time. So on that note, Ben, why don't you introduce our guest?
I most certainly will, and joining us this morning is ANZ Championship General Manager Andy Crook. G'day Andy, how are you today?
Yeah, hey guys, how are you?
Well, thank you. First of all, just to get things going, we see a mixture of Australian and New Zealand teams in each conference rather than having specific Australian and New Zealand conferences like we have at the moment?
Yeah, if I'm honest, probably that's not likely for next season, but look, anything's possible in the future. I'd suggest that the model as it stands at the moment probably needs to roll out for a few years. However, wouldn't rule anything out for the future.
The reason we added that question is because of fans wanting the 2-round draw, and we have to just ask for the sake of the listener, is there any prospect of a full 2-round draw in a couple of years' time when the next TV deal is up? And further down the line, could the mixing up the conference system sort of be a sort of halfway point between having what we have now and a full 2-round draw?
No, look, I think that, if I'm honest, if we just talk about the 2-round draw, I don't necessarily see that happening for many years to come. I think that it's not really, it's not on the agenda, guys. It's something that, we considered and I've been talked about a long time. I think you and I discussed it before, but I don't necessarily see it as being a reality for a long period of time. And there are lots of reasons. It's extremely costly. And it's also about, the types of content you've got to deliver for broadcasters and sponsors in each marketplace. And so that's the reality of the world we live in at the moment.
And obviously we did see the conference system introduced this year, Andy, and the drawn games as well. How have you viewed the season so far, considering those two changes and other changes being made?
I think the season's been very exciting. I think that it's, on both sides of the Tasman, we're seeing positive results. I think for me, it boils down to, this time last year and in previous years, we've maybe had 5 teams still remaining in the competition. Now we've got up to 9 teams with 3 rounds left to all fighting for a spot in the final. The 4 rounds left, all fighting for a spot in the final. I think it's been really positive. I think the draw's definitely added it's obviously fairly controversial, but it's added a different dimension to the games. And certainly created a few talking points. So look, I think from a media, if I look at it from a media perspective, we've probably had more exposure this year than I've ever seen. And we'll find out the results of that at the end of the year when we do a bit of a review. But I think all in all, the biggest thing for me is we've got a couple of teams who are dominating the competition regardless of whether there's a conference model or not, and they're going to be battling it out for the ultimate prize in the ANZ Championship trophy. So we're really looking forward to that.
And just before I move on, and I want to sort of move away from the conference system and the draw because it is a topic people feel strongly about, but there's a lot of other things we can discuss, and I feel that are worthy of attention. But just before we do move on, you mentioned that you think there's been more media coverage, and do you, just to sort of clarify that, do you think that is because people disagree with the fact there's no overtime anymore? Because a part of human nature is that you tend to really only speak out when you disagree with something.
Possibly, yeah. Look, I think it's interesting because, the people who don't like it and don't like the overtime will speak out against it. But on the flip side, you just see a number of people who say how great it is. Yes, that's probably human nature. But ultimately, we're seeing more people talking about the competition. And, the reality is for this to survive and thrive as a young, growing league, with a lot of potential, we need people talking about this competition. So, not always good in terms of the feedback, but it's out there and it's a talking point. So that's not necessarily what the changes were designed for, but the knock-on effect is that we're seeing more headlines about the ANZ Championship, and from our point of view, we don't think it's damaging the brand in any way, shape, or form. In fact, a lot of the articles that we see have applauded the changes that have been made with the draw and also the conference model. So, like you say, there are certain outspoken people, but there are also people who support it. So.
Andy, consumer products and merchandise, they're always a feature of sport at all levels, but it's taken a while for this to take off for netball. I know for a fact I'm down here in Melbourne, so I cover a lot of the Vixens games. I see a lot of the merchandise, and it's always pretty popular, but it's taken a while, as I said, for it to become popular. But are there any upcoming developments for consumer products or merchandise that you can tell us about within ANZ Championship? You're always probably looking to make the fan experience more exciting, or more merchandise opportunities available for sponsors and suppliers and fans, etc.
Look, there's nothing. I wouldn't say there's anything groundbreaking necessarily in the merchandise space. It's more about looking at what the future is for fan engagement at venues. So there's a lot of work being put into what that needs to be and how we can do it better, and that'll be over the next couple of years. Obviously, it takes investment, and we're working out how to work through that as well. So look, I wouldn't say there's anything I really necessarily want to talk about, but it's something we're very aware of, and we want to improve and really increase the experience at match and also across social media and all other platforms.
The sort of reason Ben and I came to this question is when we were discussing, matters to do with the ANZ Championship behind the scenes, we were kind of talking about, DVDs and downloadable content. And do you think at some point in the future that, we could see like Blu-ray and DVDs of the ANZ Championship and more downloadable content? Just for like one example, I think having, the grand final on DVD would be great. It'd be a good stocking filler at Christmas.
Yeah, look, I take your point, and that's something we have done in the past. There's got to be everything we do has to be financially justifiable. I think the thing we have done this year is introduce the app where content is available. So and I guess largely our focus will be on how we actually improve the experience on that and take it to a bigger screen and those sort of things. It's definitely on our radar. Whether CDs and Blu-rays are necessarily the future, I mean, who's really to say? But we know that there's a lot of investment that has gone into the app, and that's, I guess, where we'll continue to invest and improve the experience there.
Just on the app, Andy, I have it on my phone. I use it just primarily to check scores. I don't have the subscription to get the Vision or anything, and I think it's turned out quite well.
You need to get the subscription, buddy. Get in there.
All in good time, Andy. All in good time, mate. Just generally though, what kind of feedback have you had about the app from fans, or just even generally, just from all angles from everyone?
We've had very good feedback, and it has gone very well. So, without going into detail on numbers, we have, I think the standard conversion from someone who downloads a sports app to them subscribing to the content is around about 10%, and ours is up near double that. So we're really pleased so far. And there'll be new developments to come over the next month or so, and hopefully the World Cup will come into that mix as well and improve the experience on the app, on the Netball Live app even more, as well as the Diamonds content. So it's gone very well. Great feedback from the public, and we're continuing to see a large number of downloads each week in Australia mainly, but also across here in New Zealand and also around the world in places like England and South Africa. So it's going very, very well.
And, just to move along, and I want to stay with coverage of the netball, and this next question does relate to the Live app, but aside from the Netball Live app, will viewers outside of New Zealand be able to access the competition by Netflix in the future or some other sort of web TV service?
Yeah, I don't really understand the question, because people can access it outside of New Zealand.
Well, what I think what the question aims at is, I think the app is great because, don't get me wrong, I applaud the app. I think when you have a service like Netflix, I think the availability of it worldwide and on a number of devices offers some considerable advantages, and Netflix doesn't sort of have the same demand, and the other sort of providers like them don't have the same demand that your sort of free-to-air TV networks have, such as like schedules, and, it doesn't really matter if a program goes over time if you're you don't have people expecting the next program to come on.
Yep. Yeah. Look, in terms of our strategy moving forward, a lot of it's going to revolve around Netball Live, and that'll be about taking it not just, it's geo-blocked from New Zealand at the moment because of the rights that Sky own, which is, absolutely the right thing, and we're hoping that it's going to be accessible around the world in the near future. So no, it's we're really excited about that. We know that the world is moving towards digital content on your app and your mobile, etc. And I guess that's our play at the moment in that space. It's not necessarily Netflix or Apple TV or all those sort of things. However, we won't rule anything out for the next 3 to 5 years. It's obviously the world's going to change, and we've got to adapt as well.
And Andy, how has it been received so far with the one game a week, the free-to-air game going back to Channel 10/1HD, which was the previous free-to-air partner after it was on SBS in the previous years?
Yeah, it's been really well received. The numbers have gone up. Network 10 are a great partner. So it's going really well.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I think any progress the ANZ Championship makes on free-to-air TV in Australia is good, but we have to move along because we have a fault with the battery on our satellite dish at this end, and it's draining power quickly. But just before we sort of move along, in terms of keeping the ANZ Championship fresh from 2017 onwards, could we see a tactical interchange bench trialled in the ANZ Championship?
Tactical interchange bench, look, we might see a tactical timeout. That's something we're investigating not only for 2017 but for 2016, for 2016 season. So, we would love to have done it this year. However, the issues really that were raised sort of its head were around the World Cup, ensuring we maintain the rules as best we can moving into the World Cup, given obviously the number of athletes who play in the ANZ Championship who also will be playing in the World Cup. So, it's something we would like to get past next year for the 2016 season, where it is, rather than having to call an injury, it's just a tactical timeout. So that's a work in progress at the moment. We'll see how that progresses.
Andy, could we see the revival of the umpiring exchange between Australia and New Zealand during the home and away season? I know a few years ago, for some home and away games, you had like Kiwi umpires doing Australian games and Aussie umpires doing Kiwi games, or it could also be like what we have in finals. We have one Kiwi and one Aussie doing a game, but not every game, but selected games across the home and away season.
Oh, look, it's a possibility. It's nothing. There won't be any decisions made on that for a while, but it's a possibility.
All right then, Andy, thanks very much for joining us today, mate. I really appreciate it. And hopefully I'll see you around come finals time. I know you're always up for a chat, because considering we used to work together anyway.
All right, guys, appreciate that.
You've been listening to the 3 Feet Radio Show with Ben Carbonaro and Luke Herbert. Tune in next time for more special guests and netball commentary exclusively on YouTube.